Hello and welcome to the first session 0 of a thing I'm calling Hearts of Yokai, which is kind of a placeholder name. This is a PbtA hack that drew originally from Changing the Lost and has undergone a couple of changes since then. It is still very much informed by Changing the Lost, but also other modern urban fantasy things as well, but we're kind of with those kinds of characters. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this session is part of Open Hearth Gaming Community. You can find out about that at openhearthgaming.com. We'll also have a link in the show notes. We have an open gaming weekend called the Shared Hearth that is coming up the second weekend of November, and then signups for that actually open a couple weeks before that on Tuesday, October 24th. One logistical thing I want to mention here for our European friends, we have 1 week that the time changes for you, and then the US catches up. That is that first week of November. Those of us on American time zone will adjust. So it will happen at the European time set for you, even though it may say slightly differently in the thing, but we'll keep your time consistent. So I just want to establish that ahead of time so we're not, so I don't forget about it later on, which I very well might. So I'm going to walk through the cats, kind of talking about what this game is, what we're going to be doing, tone, and of course our safety things. The idea of this is that our characters are people that have been stolen away from the world, that have been taken by these forces outside of our world, which we're calling the takers. Some of these names are placeholders that may adjust. The idea is that there is a kind of an ocean that we can't see that exists outside the world that is called the undertow. And at the edges of that are the realms, the places that these takers come from, that come into our world to take people, to take things, to scavenge magic, but mostly to scavenge people to take the things that are quintessential to them, emotions, feelings, things like that, and to make them into servants in those realms. And that process of these forces coming in from outside, stealing people away, taking them, that changes those people. They are transformed. We have different playbooks representing different things that are stolen from our changed, and what that makes them, how they transform into something else. Our characters have managed to escape, have managed to make their way back out of these realms, across this ocean, through the undertow, back into the shallows and the shoals that border our realm, and come back into the world, but they've been changed. They can appear human, that remains for them, and they can shape how that looks a little bit, but they kind of echo who they were before. But they are also, below that guise is the real transformed inhuman form. They have been changed by their experience. They have been drawn away from the world. Sometimes they've been replaced by changelings in their own homes, by replacements that take their place, and sometimes they've just been gone. And the means by which these takers have taken, some of them have come and made promises, some of them have bargained, some of them have made offers, and some of them have just taken people. So the ways in which this has happened varies. The time that you spent in the realms, you may try to rewrite it for yourself, that it was fine, that it was good, that there was some wonder there, but that often hides the trauma and the tragedy and the things that you had to do to survive while you were there. So that's kind of a theme that is running below the surface. When the change gather in a location, they form courts. These are a set of structures, a set of rituals to provide a kind of a antithetical force to the forces and the companies and the corporations of the realms. And we're going to actually define what those courts look like. We're going to set those up in play. The changed exists in a world where there are other supernaturals in the city. There are vampires, werewolves, whatever we decide to have there. But your magic that you've picked up, that you've become, comes from these takers and is kind of dangerous to the world. It is a magic that imposes itself without care for what the world is like. And it can be detrimental to other supernaturals. So there is a tension between yourselves and the other beings of this world that kind of exist in this secret world. Some of them would rather destroy you than interact with you, and some of them might want to use your powers. So that's kind of another challenge that exists out in the world. Of course, beyond that, there's still the threat that various ravagers, pirates, raiding parties from the realms could come. There's always a fear that they might set you back into the shackles and chains that you have been in. So that's the basic sort of setup premise, is playing out our characters, trying to find themselves in this world. There are weird things going on. Our PCs have come together. They are friends. They are joined together through their relationships, and will start kind of in a central place that you have made your own. So that's our setup. Today, what we're going to be doing, our approach today, is we're going to be doing some building of our world. I mean, setting up our courts, talking about some factors of what things look like, talking about what threats are in the world, figuring out what our city looks like. And then we'll be doing character creation. And we're going to be, making choices with the classic. You're going to choose what court you're associated with, figure out a name for your kind, set stats, pick your moves, and there's some background questions depending on the playbook. We'll do introductions. You'll set a rival. I've got a little table that you can use to make up your rival, and we'll do some entanglement building. This borrows again from Hearts of Wulin. So we definitely have inner conflict, and we have entanglements here as a thing, and the idea of bonds. And then once we've got all of those things set, we'll see where we're at in terms of time, and maybe we'll get started on play. As usual, this will be done with a 10-minute break on the hour and a 5-minute break usually on the second hour. But we'll see where that goes. In terms of tone, this is World of Darkness is probably our touchstone, but not gritty. I would say I'm very much in the mode of Monster Hearts and Urban Shadows and those kinds of games. It might be dark, but it's about as much about the supernatural that's going on and the weirdness as it is about your own trying to figure out where your lives are at. There are strange things happening. We will kind of try to stay in that middle ground there. There might be various kinds of horror, body horror or whatnot, but I don't want to go too nihilistic or dark with the tone of things. There should be, like said, in terms of content warning, these are characters that are dealing with trauma, which means we might be dealing with issues of PTSD, with familial relationships, with fantastical gaslighting, where people kind of are changing things around on you, the tensions of relationships. These are all possible topics that we might get into and the usual things of violence as a solution sometimes for particular problems. So that's on the table. And of course, to handle that, in play. We have our layered set of safety tools. I've played with all of you before, so I know you're well familiar with this. We have our lines. Consider these as hard lines. Fails, meaning either if it gets mentioned, we'll fade to black on it, or we'll just have it off screen. It might happen, but we're only going to allude to it and not feature it directly. And then ask first, being a topic that if someone wants to introduce that, we need to definitely do a check-in on that before we bring that into play. I've got that list there on the Lines and Veils tab. As usual, if there's anything you want to add to that, please feel free to. And this is a document that may change over time. We may add to it as we go along. You're all familiar with the X card. The X card, verbally or a gesture, is my preferred mode for that. I always think it's really important that when you present something that you're X carding, if you find it objectionable, if you find it problematic, that the only question we need to really ask you is like, where do we need to cut back to? You do not have to defend your choices for X card. You may, if you wish to, explain them, but again, you don't have to defend those. Those are your choices. They are valid. X card is also useful as a point of recalibration. If someone's play style is starting to be intrusive, maybe you want to stop and we want to kind of catch a breath on that. Or more commonly, if maybe we've started to head towards a line or a veil that we have, but maybe we've kind of missed it, we've forgotten about it. X card is a good thing to say, hey, it looks like we're leaning towards this. This is veiled or this is lined. So I think that's really important to have out there. We also have a romance matrix there on that Lines and Veils page, basically indicating what your comfort is with romance with NPCs, romance with PCs. Do you want to ask first on those kinds of things? We are going to have the possibility of entanglements there, and certainly with the entanglements that I've presented both romantic and general entanglements there, just as I do in Hearts of Wulin. If you do not want romantic entanglements, you do not have to choose those. You can do two general. If your character is ace, or you feel more comfortable that direction, you are more than welcome to go that way and mark that out for players and for me as the GM. The last thing is this does have an open door policy for play, meaning that if you need to step away, as you know, you're more than welcome to. It'd be great if you could tell us if you're going to be back or not, but you're not obliged to. That open door extends further, that if we get done with this session or a session later on down the road and you realize that this is not the game that you want to be playing, either ever or at this time, then just say, thank you very much. I'm not coming back. And you don't need to, again, explain or defend that decision. We understand that things happen. And it is so important to me that none of us play in games that we're not enjoying. that if we're going to play, we're enjoying them. We don't get stuck by our gamer social contract into obligations here. So those are the basic things. That's my cats, my safety spiel, all of that. On that Lines and Veils tab, I'll just point to you that I have a link to the document that has the text for all of these things. I also have a roller there, as well as the link to our Zoom call and our Pinterest board. Those are all there just in case you get lost, miss an email or whatever. That's where you can check that. So this is a play test in a sense, mostly that we're going to be playing it, and then maybe we'll find some rough spots that we want to fix as we go along. This has been play tested in a couple of other versions. All of them have been huge, messy games. I initially went into this rewrite with the idea of cutting the moves down significantly, but both Ray and Sherry and some other people said that's the splendor of this game, is that there's so much wild stuff in here. With that, I do want to mention another thing before we go into character creation. Our playbooks have a lot of moves. and that kind of allow, hopefully, the archetypes to go in different directions. One of the things I do want to encourage people is you'll always have the option to take moves from other playbooks, especially ones that aren't in play, if they fit better with your conception. If maybe even at the start when you're picking your two moves, if there's something you want to take that would really help you fit with that, you're more than welcome to. As a corollary to that, because there's so much stuff here, after we'll get into the second session of actual play, I'll check in, and if there's anything you've made a pick on that you're not happy with, you'll have the opportunity to switch that around, to change that up. So I am going to come here to our character creation tab. We have in our city, we have 4 courts. They are each associated with a passion and emotion. This is like Hearts of Wulin in that we're rolling with emotions, like the Veil, we're rolling with states. We have wrath, dread, lament, exultation, which is basically anger, fear, sadness, and joy. And then we also have calm and power that represent sort of humanity and the force of the takers. Each one of these courts associates itself with one of those 4 cardinal emotions. And they also have a suit, a symbol that they are associated with. Think of these a little bit like tarot suits. And these are going to be kind of abstract. So I'm going to come around to each of you, and you're going to pick one of the courts. And then you're going to tell me what the symbol of that court is, and then you're going to pick 2 or 3 traits that are associated with that court. And I've got an example list there. So Anders, I'm going to start with you here.
Yeah, okay.
So which of these states do you want to be the one that you want to define? And again, this isn't necessarily that your character has to be associated with this court.
Yeah. It's just my contribution to the world building at this stage. Yeah. Let's see. I think I want to go with. Let's go with lament.
Okay. So this is the court that represents sadness, grief, those kinds of things. What do you want as the symbolic element? What are we calling this court?
I'm gonna go with candles.
Candles?
Yeah, candles.
Okay.
Lit or extinguished. I think both are part.
I like that. So lament, candles, and what do you want as 3 traits that we want to associate with the court of candles?
Can I think a bit about that?
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll let everybody pick their symbolic stuff, and then I'll come back. We'll do it that way. Donna, which of the 3 remaining do you wish to pick?
I think I'll go with dread.
Okay.
And I mean, I think oceans is like a placeholder, but I think like water in general, so different flavors of fear associated with different things. So maybe water.
So the court of water, the court of currents, the court of seas. Or we could say court of waters.
Yeah, I mean, I think something else will be more a better label for what than waters is very generic. So maybe
tides.
Tides, yeah, tides. Some undercurrent there, right?
Okay, yeah.
But
so we'll say the court of tides, visually represented by by water, bodies of water, shorelines, that kind of thing. Certainly ties into the fact that our undertow, this ocean, is the source of a lot of fear. Awesome. We will come back to you and ask you about your traits there. Sabine, would you like to do wrath or exaltation?
I think I would like to do exaltation.
Okay.
And I think what I want to be associated with this is something like flags or banners.
Oh,
Something blowing in the wind.
yeah. I like banners. That's a great term for it. The court of banners gives us a nice visual motif that we can play with, the wind, the air, as well as a symbolic representation there. Awesome. And then Matt, I'm giving you the Court of Wrath.
The Court of Wrath. Okay. I like banners, candles, and tides very much. Wrath, anger. I'm a little stuck here. Give me a second. I keep thinking about like eyes and stares and like that sort of cruel intent of like
Court of Eyes is great. I think there's a great visual with that. It can be done in a variety of ways. Are you good with that?
I'm good with that. I'm the one who put a veil on eye injuries, so as long as we don't go in that territory, I think eyes are really great symbolism, and I love that for wrath.
Okay.
So let's go with it, and we'll be fine.
Okay. So I'm going to come back around to each of you, and I want you to give me 3 traits that 2 or 3 traits are associated with this particular court. So Andish, what do you think are going to be our traits that we're going to associate with the Court of Candles?
I've got 2 so far. I picked out, and I've just picked from the list here because that's just there are so many, and that makes it easy. So I picked listeners because I think is the court of candles. They talk about their grief, and they talk to each other, they listen to each other, they help each other try to process what they've been through.
I like that.
And I picked orderly, and I think that they keep things structured as a way to also manage their grief, that sort of thing. And I'm trying to think of something that kind of contrasts a bit with that. Maybe something very practical. Could be interesting. Ooh, artisan. That could be, unless someone else has that as something they want. like expressing themselves through working with their hands.
So which one are you thinking?
Artisan.
Artisan. Okay. Yeah.
Candles gives me very like studious and hardworking. Like I like artisan for that. Artisan's great because it's like, they work by the candlelight.
Right. Not necessarily just an artist, but an artisan says like a little, as Matt's suggesting, a little more of that kind of focused craft.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing I want. Not artist, like the dramatic. This is like, sitting by yourself, working on a thing, perfecting something, that sort of thing.
Perfect. Donna, what about for the Court of Tides?
So the first one that kind of jumped out at me was oracular. So there being like some kind of oracle of some nature. Maybe it's the kind of trope of using a body of water as some kind of a way of viewing or seeing into another world. And the other one that is definitely jumping out at me is vengeful.
Ooh.
I think the aspect here is that, like the tides, they will always come back. It doesn't matter how long you think things have gone, whether they have forgotten, that they have not. Your fear will always return.
I like that.
And then the last one, I guess I've got a short list of other ones that I had in mind, but I think ostentatious, maybe as a kind of contrast. Maybe I'm seeing lots of flowing gowns, but mostly I think something which you cannot ignore.
Interesting. I like that. That's a neat contrast to that. Excellent. Sabine.
Yeah, I'm thinking reckless.
Okay.
I like reckless for these guys, and they're probably both elegant and dramatic.
Okay.
Like banners waving in the wind, and
nice. A recklessness in pursuit of that elegance and that drama.
And of this exaltation and of this whatever they think joy is.
Excellent. And then Matt.
In my downtime, I thought of a second option, and I'd like you to help me decide. I thought of towers. I thought that was very cool. Does anyone have a preference between eyes and towers?
I like towers because we have tides associated with water, candles associated with fire, banners associated with wind, and towers would be associated with earth. So that would be a neat of like association.
And also the others are objects and not body parts, so that also kind of fits with that. And all of these, I feel like you can combine them. Like you can have a tower standing by the water or with banners on it, candles in a window, and
yeah. Okay, so we will switch that to towers.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So what traits do you want with this Court of Wrath, the Court of Towers?
Well, I think we have our like ostentatious court. So rather than them being like regal up in their towers, I'd like them to be more like practical. And let's say calculating. I don't think this is like a fiery wrath. I think this is like a, look down from our towers and choose our moment.
Nice.
Let's go with esoteric. So I think it's like a ritualistic kind of vibe, but less so about the bluster and more so just about the simple art of whatever it is that they do up there. Earthy. Let's say let's go with unyielding.
Okay. In the sense of stubbornness, or do you think in the sense of standing in defense, or do you think both, or some combination?
I think maybe like an obsessive driven, like refusal to waver once a goal is established.
Okay.
And I'm imagining just like the pressure from above.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
I like that. So we have our four courts. Our city is organized around these four. We'll eventually kind of maybe figure out who our leaders are. Adish, what are the leaders of a court called? Are they called a leader? Are they called a king or queen? Are they called a prince? Are they called something else?
Interesting thing. Oh, I'd like of course it's like a gender neutral word for like dame, that sort of thing, like dame or like if there was a if there was a gender neutral form of dominance or dominant, but I don't know what that.
Dominance as a
dominance
as a form of address is
no
dominance.
Sorry, I was thinking of the Roman word for like the yeah sorry.
Well,
yeah.
well, the dominus, DOMINUS, we can just use that as a title, as a neutral title.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the dominus, they are the person who is in charge for the court. In this world, I've talked about the fact that there is this realm, the undertow, this watery place. You can move into it in the close by. You all know how to shift into this place. You're kind of in the shallows where weird things wash up from the depths. But it's also a way to move around in the world. It can be kind of dangerous, but those who do know how to move through the undertow can use it as a way of passage. You can find things there, and you can find places there. There are islands in those shallows that serve as places for different magical creatures, maybe even for yourselves, places that you can escape to, and so on. So we have this sense of moving into this watery world. I imagine that it gets bluer and darker the further you get out. It becomes more like traveling through the deep oceans as you go along, eventually out to the realms. Donna, what do you think gates look like for entering into the undertow?
Do we think these gates can be anywhere, or?
I'm asked that's a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question for me. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of there being kind of two types of gate. One being like complete isolation, or maybe isolation is really the key factor, whether you're isolated and actually alone, or whether you're isolated in the midst of a throng, a crowd. Maybe so you can get taken, crossing a busy road, if there's a million people crossing at the same time, or just by your lonesome in the woods.
So there's a mental state that can be the key to people accidentally stumbling in, or you moving yourselves, kind of sliding over into the realm of the undertow. And you said two things. So what's the other thing?
Sorry, that was my mental process. I was thinking of an isolated, like in the wilderness kind of thing, but then being like socially isolated in the crowd. So yeah, I think isolation is our key.
Yeah. So rather than any kind of physical like doors or barriers or things like that, moving into the undertow requires a kind of a concentration of the mind, isolation, and to pass over into it. And it's kind of a dangerous thing, I would think, in that case, because you have to make yourself feel alone, even if you're with people, to go into this place. I like that. So these takers, there can be various forms of them. They might be the high fae, they might be something else out there, but we know they come in. We know that they are potent and powerful, steal these energies, these emotions from people in the world. We know that there are younger versions of these takers that want to assume a mantle to get a realm for themselves, and they can come and threaten. So what are some of the signs of the takers? What is an omen or a marker or something that is associated with them? Sabine, what is one thing that traditionally is associated with the takers?
I think it's some sort of, I'm imagining, since you've talked about the undertow, that has some kind of distortion, like you would have when you're underwater and sounds come in this way of distortion, and maybe your ears pop a little. Maybe there's other kinds of distortions, things that are not quite what they should be.
So a sense that the presence of the takers kind of forces the feel of the undertow out into the world.
Yes.
Again, that wobbling sound when you're underwater, the ear popping, the visual, that changing of the light.
Yes.
Maybe even the tactile of moving through water. I like that.
Yeah.
Matt, what's another sign of the takers?
Another sign of the takers. Are we looking for like sensory stuff here?
It can be a sensory stuff. It can be something that they leave behind. It can be a visual symbol, anything like that we're going to associate with them.
Okay.
When they appear, I'm going to put these things on stage, kind of. So
yeah. I think like I'm getting salt and brine a lot. Like all of the water in the area all of a sudden like becomes salt water, and there's a smell of like seaweed, and like I think there's just, I don't want it to just be like the ocean follows them everywhere they go, but I think there's subtle cues.
Yeah, but that's an actual physical change, a thing that can be spotted in the moment, or can be spotted as an aftermath if you go to a scene and you find salt, or something has turned salty, or there is that smell. I like that. That's great. That gives us a nice thing with some physicality to it. So here is the big question. Where do we want to have our city? Do we want to be set in Europe? Do we want to be set, in North America? I think those are probably our two big choices. Any preference on that from anyone? I'm really leaving this open. I had a couple ideas, but Sabine, what do you think?
My first idea that came to mind when I read this was Prague, for whatever reason, which is a very old city, and you can kind of sometimes feel the age, but it's also a very modern city with a lot of tourists. So I don't know. I like Prague, but I would also go with, I don't know, Cincinnati, because I know nothing about Cincinnati whatsoever.
I mean, most importantly, a city far away from the sea, it sounds like.
Yeah, it does. The ocean follows you everywhere. So
yeah. but our characters might imagine this would help,
right? Right.
Yeah.
Dana, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I have no strong feelings, but I mean, Prague is very cool, and Cincinnati, I know nothing about.
Okay. Adish?
Yeah, I don't know. Prague could work. I've never been there, but I know kinda what it's like. I think the thing with setting it in Europe is that which country it's in is going to change things a fair bit. Prague is interesting because it's not been it's not been in the same country for it's changed what country it's been in for a fair number of times, which can make for some interesting backstory. Yeah, I kind of think it would be interesting to have a coastal city or city with more water, just because of this water theme with the takers. But that's just
originally I was thinking of maybe a city, not Le Havre, but someplace in France, in Normandy, along the coast. We can kind of make up a city and urban center there.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Normandy gets us a kind of a set of crossroads in some ways. And we can still have the kind of the classical history there. Let's set that for the moment. If we decide to change it, we can. But let's say an older city. There's a French detective series called Witnesses that's set in a city on the coast in Normandy that has some interesting visuals. They drive out into the countryside and old castles and things like that, but the city itself is interestingly laid out. So that maybe that is a reference. Let's put that on the table. But I do want us to come up, each of us, to add a term to describe the city, something that we want as a descriptor for it. And I'll have Adish, what would you like as one descriptor for our city that we're going to be playing in?
I think I want to avoid the heavily touristy stuff. Maybe I don't know what a word for that would be, but
so either off the beaten path or a little
something like that.
Insular.
Insular is good. Yeah. I think that also. I think it makes the city more important to the characters if there aren't strong connections to other places. Like we're here and this is the place that matters.
I like that. Donna, what might be another descriptor we would use?
I have two thoughts. Maybe the rest of the group have some feedback. One is like maybe more of a visual motif, like foggy. I like a lot of fog.
Okay.
And the other one maybe feeds a little bit into the kind of isolation, non-touristy kind of thing of like, post-industrial, busy but rundown port kind of thing. I don't know.
Like a port that exists that hasn't been kept up as well.
Yeah. Which, there's a plethora of along the northern coast of France,
Okay.
Normandy, Brittany, all that. So I don't know.
I'm going to write down both of those.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's the easiest solution to that.
Okay.
Sabine, what about for you? What do you want to add?
Oh, I'm thinking something like old walls, old monuments. Maybe the city has existed or has an old Roman castle and stuff like that. Or just not very well kept up, maybe.
That where they kind of have built the town sort of around the things.
Yeah. And you can still see something maybe at the stone. Like there's the Romans put stones everywhere and statues, and maybe there are some left.
I like that. A nice connection to the past, nice magical places. I like that.
Yeah, like just oldest, ancient.
Yeah. And Matt?
I was thinking something very similar in that this place is very like echoing or spacious, as though it used to be a much larger city. And it's not that it's like a ghost town, it's still a large place, but this place could hold many more people. So I'm imagining like lots of empty feeling scenes, or like the sound carries well throughout these ancient large places.
They've had to kind of build around these larger old things that they've kind of ignored. Maybe it's also a place where has lost population over time. So we get the empty streets, foggy empty streets at night that we can move through.
And maybe a little haunted.
Maybe a little haunted. Okay.
We've set up a very spooky town for ourselves.
So we're going to do one more thing before we take our break. And we're going to play off this. I'm going to do this reverse order here. We're going to figure out what other kinds of threats and supernaturals are present here. And there is a list there on row 41. You are going to pick one term from the first column and then one term from the second column. So, Matt, what is one kind of supernatural or potential supernatural or non-supernatural threat that exists there in the city?
Before I looked at the list, the word that came to my head was birds. So I'm going to see what I can do in that space.
Sure.
I think angels are cool. Ooh, revenant. This is a good list. Shape changers.
You'd have Tengu, like a displaced group of immigrant bird folk.
That's cool. That's cool. Let me see. Let's go with scavenger demons.
Scavenger demons. Awesome.
I don't know what they're scavenging for, but
we're going to find out in play. I'm just going to have you come up with these terms, and then I'm going to run with it afterwards.
Awesome.
So that's great. Sabine, what's the second one we want to have on the list?
Thinking about the fog we have in the city, and I think we might have some ghosts, like fog are kind of ghosts, and I think they're filled with memories or lacking memories, something connected to memories, I think.
Like memory hungry?
Yeah, maybe like that. Yeah, like or maybe just hungry ghosts. Hungry ghosts is good.
Okay. That's classic.
Yeah, well,
I love it. No, that's
classic sometimes there's a reason for classic.
Absolutely. So we've got hungry, memory hungry ghosts. Donna, what's another one?
My initial thought, which I'm going to abandon because we already have demons, was corporate demons. But then I thought, how do we tell those from the usual?
Yes, exactly.
I think I'm going to go with street dragons.
Street dragons.
Whether this is kind of living under a bridge or, pretending to be statues in the fog or something like this, I don't know.
I like that. And Andish, last but not least.
I had to revise my ideas there several times because I noted a couple of things immediately. I wanted corporate ghosts, but that ghost got taken, and I had scavenger zombies, and then scavengers got taken. And so let's see. I wanted something that was connected because I saw Taker influence on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted something like that, but I'm not sure if I want. I think the street dragon. I think it's kind of connected, but I think I want punk cultists. So you can do whatever you want with that, but I feel like misled goth people who get drawn into bad stuff.
Absolutely, with a real anarchic approach to the systems of magic that they're gonna kick back against. I like that.
You don't need to follow the instructions on that ritual.
Yes. So let's take 10 minutes for our first break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about playbooks, and we're going to have you pick which playbook you want to play and start the character building process. So we'll be back at, let's say, 5 after. So I'd like to talk with you about what you'd like to play. In this version, we have 8 playbooks. Some of them are kind of refined versions of what we saw in Changeling PbtA, and there are a couple of new ones. Some of these are sort of described in the playbooks, but I'll just kind of real quickly go through. Our beloved, these are people who have had some of their autonomy taken away, have been made objects of viewing, objects of desire. They have been put in positions to control others, but also be controlled. Our brute is our character who has had mercy taken away from them. They have been put through situations where they have seen their own sense of humanity taken away and have inflicted inhumanities on other people. They've had been put in situations where mercy does them no good. The constructed, this is one of the new types. These are people that were stripped down and rebuilt. They might be like made of flesh. They might be made of metal. They have been constructed, and in that process, they have had their memory taken from them. They start with little sense of who they were before, associations, maybe a sense of familiarity, but a lot has been taken from them. Our elemental has been transformed into another substance, and these can be, solids. Fire, water are sort of real world things, or they can be, abstractions. You might be an elemental of books. You might be an elemental of rainbows, or that kind of thing. The fearing are the characters who have had their bravery taken away, their sense of control taken away. They've been put through a process of terror to kind of break them. Are pledged. These are people that have had their freedom taken away in a sense that they have a task, they have a job, they have an obsession, they have a duty, they follow it through. That's what they were made to do and what they're trying to react against now that they've come back into the real world. The unmade is the other of the new ones. These are people who have had very much their core sense of hope taken away. They are fading away in some regards. They have been kind of unwoven. They've been shattered. They might be becoming an abstraction in a sense. And they're trying to figure out what their place is in the real world versus the world of the imagination. And how they want to survive in that. And then our wilding is a person who has been made into an animal, or they're an animal was blended with a person. They might not be a real animal. They might be an imaginary animal. So you might be a wilding, of griffins or things like that. And they have had their humanity taken away, which means that they're not inhuman or uncivilized, but sometimes they have a hard time interacting with people on the level of the more sophisticated, civilized rules for things. So those are our 8 playbooks. So I want to go around and see if folks have a strong definitive sense of what they'd like to play, or a couple of things that are on their short list, which is a classic way for me to go around here. I would prefer everybody to play a different playbook. So Andish, do you have a short list?
No.
No.
As usual, I'm drawn to almost anything.
Okay. Are there any that are off the table for you?
I haven't looked fully at the versions here. I remember when we had this up in the workshop, the elemental was the one I felt the least attracted to at that point, but I don't know how much it's changed.
Well, I'm going to write down the elemental and I put a little X through it. So at least we've got one off the table for you. Okay. But
yeah.
we'll come back to you. Donna, thoughts?
I think I'm most keen on the brute. And then I think my runner-up is the pledged.
Okay. Sabine?
I have 2 on my short list for now, or 3. I think the unmade sounds very interesting. But I also like the fearing or the elemental.
Matt?
I think I'm looking at the constructed, the elemental, and fearing also looks really cool.
Okay. Andish, yeah, you've heard some other people talk. Do you maybe want to narrow it down to your short list?
Yeah, I think I'll pick Beloved then, because that's not on anyone else's list, so I won't get in anyone.
Okay. So you will do the Beloved?
Yeah.
Okay. Donna, if I come back to you, are you good with the Brute? I know you said that's your first.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with the Brute.
Okay.
Thanks.
So Beloved, Brute, Sabine.
I think I'll try the Unmade. I hope I can make something of that, but it sounds really interesting.
Excellent. And then Matt?
It's constructed or elemental. I think that constructed sounds really cool.
Okay.
I'm going to go with it.
All right. So I'm going to set you loose on the character tab. On the character creation tab, there at the very bottom, we're going to go up to number 6 on that list. So it's figure out what you're going to call your kind of Brute or your kind of Beloved. You're going to choose a court, which one you think you want to associate with. You're going to assign those values to your moods. You're going to pick 2 moves. And then you're going to look, I've got those background questions up at the top. And once people have got that set, then we'll go around to do introductions. So now I'm going to sit here awkwardly while you work on that.
Is there a space for player name on the characters?
Oh, it looks like we don't have one. So let me add a row up top.
Just so we don't start working in the same one.
Let me merge sound. Okay, I'll put that in. I'm going to go through and add those courts to the court dropdown right now.
I have a question about the courts. Should we all be in the same court? Everybody should be in a different court, or doesn't it matter? Can we have two characters?
It's fine if people are in different courts. It gives in fact, probably better that you're in at least 2 or 3 courts spread amongst the group, because that gives a little more contact to the different groups.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing, and I guess this is more to the other players and less to Lowell. Do we do we want what, or maybe I should just ask, what courts are you thinking of belonging?
I was thinking of tides, because I like what you made. What? Yeah.
I was thinking of candles.
That was my second choice. So if I need to shuffle, I can.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put that here. I can also go Court of Banners, which wouldn't make a lot of sense, but you never know, right? Sometimes you get stuck somewhere where you don't really fit in. Oh, I think I'll take Court of Banners then.
I was thinking towers. With you swapsies, Matt. You know.
Classic Motley.
It is okay if I choose Court of Banners. I'm not a very joyful character, right?
Absolutely. Well, because we'll figure out like how you got dragged into that, what your role is within that, why you're in a contrasting sort of court to your general sentiment.
I have some moves that interact with strings. How do they work in this game? You're muted, Flo.
So there are sort of 2 forms of the social currency. On the one hand, there's bonds, and those are bonds. Bonds are just with your fellow PCs. It's about supporting them. You can have strings on NPCs that you can gain through maneuvers, and then there's a pull strings move under the situational moves.
Cool.
Yeah.
I look at.
And give everybody a few more minutes, and then we'll move to doing some introductions.
Hey, Lowell, underneath calm it says humanity, and under power it says takers. Could you explain that?
So while each of the first four are kind of associated with a court, in terms of thematically what they're associated with, that calmness is about finding your center and is about trying to like associate yourself with humanity. That's why I mark it that way. While power is about control and your feeling of control, how you exert that. And that's just kind of a reminder that that the takers are an instrument of control. And when you kind of maybe lean into that, that's sort of what that reflects. So those are both thematic descriptors rather than anything mechanical. And of course, like Hearts of Wulin, this is a game where I think all of the roles are you choose which you're feeling. This is very much from the Veil, what emotion is driving you, so on. Also, like Hearts of Wulin, those stats are your wound boxes. So you will have to mark a mood, and when it's marked, cannot use it for that time until you get that cleared. There are a couple of the mechanics of what I mentioned. You'll see there's drained there as a thing below the stats. Basically, drained is a condition where you have used up your magic. You have tapped yourself out, and you need to take time to go and interact with people and kind of draw on their emotions and their experiences to regain your power. There's a debt clock, which is kind of a social mechanism. Basically, that's if you owe NPCs, you're going to start like building up a debt clock and a debt pool. The last thing, though, I want to mention is there's a thing called sinking. Sinking is the equivalent of corruption. This can happen as a result of hard moves, and there are some things that allow you to pick that. Basically, when you get the full 5 points of sinking, you then get to clear that and take a move from the list of sunken moves. So that's kind of cool. Look at that. You get a free move. Then those moves, though, generate more sinking. And the fourth time you fill that track up, you are no longer a PC. All right. I'm going to have us do introductions. If there's anything that if you haven't gotten to, we'll catch up with it a bit later. So we'll go across the keeper in character keeper order here. Sabine, would you introduce us to your character?
Sure. I am going to play Mirage, who uses any pronouns because they have not yet figured out which ones are most appropriate, which ones they feel are most appropriate. Mirage is an unmade. The kind of beings they are would be called a shardling, or I don't know, maybe a dreamlet or something like that. But I think shardling is the most common thing that these things are called. I don't think there's lots of them. Mirage has the moves of Dream Road, where they can travel from dream to dream, and Cobbler, where they can take stuff from dreams and make them real for whatever that means. Mirage only remembers the life before in a fleeting way. There was a cold place, a lost place, maybe a child lost while chasing a dream of snow, something like that. And they were taken first to the realm of iced flowers and spent a bit of time there, but then they became lost into the peaceful mists, emerged into a realm of cold tears. But still, again, they were drawn back into this place of peaceful mists. And again, they were in different places. They don't remember all of them. It's always they come back to this place of peaceful mists. They are afraid that they will, at one point in the future, become a dream stalker, one of those hungry ghosts, and will only exist to steal memories and hope and laughter from people who still have that.
Do you think you remember anything about how you were taken? Is it very much like your memories like fade in that direction?
Yeah, they fade, they flash up, they fade. It's like you look into the mist and you see shadows and the silhouettes. Mirage is pretty sure that they came for the first time. They came willingly. Maybe they were drawn in like by something enticing them when they were young enough to just chase a dream, run after it, and then yeah.
So you're thinking like that Mirage knows that they were young when they were taken,
yes,
and kind of grew up here in this. What do you think was their relationship to the taker who drew you out or sent you along these realms? Were they just observing you? Did they have you do things? Did you even interact with them?
I think they always when I felt somewhere that I had made a place for myself, that I had figured out where I could fit in, they reappeared and enticed me to come after them. Okay. And that is pretty much the relationship I have with them. I have no name for this person that is in the, what did I call it? I'm sorry. In the peaceful mists, it's just the mist lady, probably. I think of her as a lady who just beckons me to come away.
Drew you along. Okay. So tell me, when you travel in dreams, what does that look like? Do you just enter into the dream realm? Do you fall into like how are you picturing that travel happening?
I think it happens when I'm in the fog, when I think I need fog and mist to envelop myself into that. But once I'm there, I see these shimmering like baubles, and I enter them, and then there's light and wild things.
Why do you think you've chosen to be part of the Court of Banners, this very flashy, attention drawing court? What happened to bring you there?
I thought I was entering a dream, and I wasn't. And I just came up there, and they were like, "Now you're here, fine, you're part of us." And I got drawn in. I'm not very good at resisting anything that tries to draw me somewhere, something that wants me.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that gives us a good sense of who you are. Mm-hmm. We will be coming back to you to choose a rival from that little rival setup, and also the entanglements there. So let's move on to Matt. Matt, tell us about your character.
My character's name is Path. She is a channel, and she belongs to the Court of Tides. I'm leaning into the oracular side of Tides here. And maybe she's scared of the vengeful side, but I'm sure that's part of it too. I was always a person who was obsessed with memory and lost in nostalgia, and maybe even a child who remembered my past lives more than most do. I think my childhood was filled with urges to like follow these memories and go back to these places that I once knew and no longer do. So I think there's the like already the erosion of my identity and my future because I'm so caught up in what was or what was in another time. And I think the first time that I followed one of those impulses without abandon, maybe in my like adolescence, and ran away from home and to travel to this place that I saw so clearly and felt this immense belonging with, I was then taken. And my service was to be sort of an empty vessel and a channel for the taken to access, or the takers to access the memories of others. And I relived those memories, and I imagine I spent a lot of my time like in a tide pool, and sort of like in the center of a big ring of seers who were sifting through information, and I was the way for them to access that. So now my head is full of ghosts, and I can reach into memories and do things that I never learned, but because I've lived that life many times over, I can. And I think that I feel like I'm decades old, maybe even hundreds of years old, because of the amount of time I've spent in other people's memories.
So do you think that this taker like washed away your old memories, or was it the act of being in this place and having these memories pass through you that washed those away, or something else?
I think that I was definitely prepared, because if too much of myself was present, it would interfere with the like transmission, with the to be a good channel. My selfhood could not come through too strongly, or it would color the memories. So I think that they maybe swept them away, leaving enough of myself to like operate and to be and to interact with people, to speak and all that. But I think anything that was too strong, too bright and joyful, like all those nostalgic memories that I had in my youth, those were full of wonder and probably banners and clouds and whimsy, and those will not do in the court of fear and dread. But yeah.
So I have a sense Mirage maybe kind of wandered out of the realms back. That's certainly the feeling that I get. How did you, Path, get out? How did you escape? Were you thrown out? Did you do it yourself? Would somebody help you? What do you think happened there?
Oh gosh. I think that there was a certain memory or a person whose mind was accessed by the court of tides, and that maybe this memory was very potent for some reason. Maybe it was prophecy. Maybe this person really resisted having their memories accessed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe the tide pool became like a whirlpool, and I was taken to another place and found my way out from there. Something like that.
So some facet of the Court of Tides were interacting with the memories, and you managed to use that as a way out there of that place?
Yeah, I think like the Court of Tides are vengeful, and so they might have been trying to like work their power against somebody too powerful, and that destabilized their whole setup. Like I think it just destroyed their scrying space, and like I was sucked out of their realm.
So uh uh so the Court of Tides that are here in the this world, in the present world, the change that are part of that, how do you think that they regard you? Were they pleased to have rescued you, or do you think that they were upset that you kind of messed with their ceremony?
So these are the change that now reside in the mortal world, but still have some affinity and connection with the court itself.
And that's the thing is these courts are set up in the real world by the changed as a symbolic structure to, you know, hide from the takers and keep the takers out.
Right. So the takers that took me, they might be symbolically associated with the Court of Tides and the Oracle stuff, but they're not affiliated or connected to the court itself, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. So then,
So yeah, I guess this is the question. So we know that the Court of Tides in the real world has this oracular function. So when you were brought through, they certainly would have known what you could do. Are you interested in doing that for the court, or is that something you don't want to do anymore? Like what's your relationship to the process of seeing right now?
I think it's something that I don't want to do for anybody else. Yeah.
So there's some tension there.
Definitely. And maybe the court was relying on my presence in the undertow and the role I played there to do their own scrying. Maybe it was like this big network or whatever that was set up. And even if they weren't directly affiliated with those takers, maybe having me removed from the equation has disrupted their their knowledge base.
They used to be able to see into the realms to gather intelligence through you, but now you're not there, you know. And of course, they were using it as a tool and an instrument. That's a whole thing. Interesting. I like that. How old do you think you look? I know you feel hundreds of years old. How old do you think you look? Like teens, 20s, 30s?
Probably like 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. I think that gives us a good sense. We'll come back to you with the rivals and entanglements things here in a moment. Let's move on to Dunna.
Yeah, so my brute is called Scale, and though you can call them Red if you're my friend. From the Court of Towers, the kind is known as a hound, though if you're going to be derisive, you might call them a dog. I think remembers being taken relatively clearly as a young man at camping. Got out of the tent in the middle of the night to take a piss and got attacked by another changed and survived and killed them. And the prize for surviving was to be made into a brute himself. I took 2 moves. A dish best served now. I guess exacting revenge on behalf of someone is a strength, and inner furnace, which I guess is maybe a little bit of the control, or or maybe burgeoning lack of control. Who knows?
in your past life, do you think you were angry? Do you think you were calm? Like, what was the life that you had before?
I think, maybe early 20s taken, but kind of fallen into a dead end job. Not much going for him. So there, I guess, kind of a typical angry young man kind of motif going on, but no real reason for it, and until then, like no visceral expression of it.
Mm-hmm. So you were chosen, you were put in this contest, and you were in this place. What was this place called that you served this time?
So I picked the Blackwater River as the realm. I think kind of this archetypical wilderness, really as a way to test travelers. So whatever Taken would have been in charge of that realm really was like a tyrannical bandit king, for whatever took their fancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So used as a killer and a brute for their pleasure and their whatever schemes they had going.
So I've seen Mirage and Path have chosen some pictures for what they look like now. Your picture's a little dark. Tell me what you actually look like. Like what do we see on screen for you?
So I guess the visage is just a well-built, tall, hairy man. But the kind of truth underneath is kind of this almost elemental anger, right? And I think it's not really visible except when that anger is directed at you. You get this sense in your mind of this unbridled attack dog.
And how did you get out? How did you get free? Set free? Escaped? What do you think?
I think escaped, though, by accident. I think maybe there was some attack on the realm of Blackwater in which we were overwhelmed by some other threat. TBD, I guess, who that is. Mm-hmm. But I found myself, floating in the water and then washed up on a beach down by the docks in the city.
Nice. All right, I think that gives us a sense. I like that we've kind of got a character with this anger and this brutality in a court that has a certain restraint to it, even though it is about anger. That's very interesting. We'll come back to talk about rivals and entanglements here in a moment. And last but not least, Ondish.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
Tell us about your character.
Yeah. So my character is Lord Bloom. He, they. He belongs to the Court of Candles, so the Court of Lament. He is a beloved, and his kind is called Flower. In a very, it's intended in a very like diminutive way, like something superficial and that thing. So I think that before he was taken, he was married, he had a family, but he was kind of, like neglectful. He wasn't like he didn't. He loved his wife, but he didn't like invest in the relationship the way he should. And he was taken when he was at some party. He had been invited to some place, didn't bring his wife. He just went there to have some fun. And I think he got pulled in. The way he remembers it was like he was at the party, and then he was like pulled off into another room where there was even wilder things going on, and then another room, and then another room, and suddenly he was somewhere where he didn't understand what was going on. Like he had been transported somewhere else.
What did you choose for the moves that you took?
Oh yeah, I picked advisor, which gives me strings on people who come to me for advice or information or to threaten my interest. And if I offer them a favor and they accept, I get additional string. And I took Bell of the Ball. So when I set up an event, party, or gathering, I roll, and on a hit, absolutely everyone must attend for fear of being left out, and I get to pick something. Yeah, but I think this is when he was taken, he was put in a completely passive role. He was just a decoration, and he didn't understand what was going on. He was just placed somewhere, and sometimes they would move into a different place, and there were obviously some kind of celebrations or parties going on, but he didn't like take part in it. He was just there as something to briefly look at as part of a display. And now he's trying to reverse that. He's like, now I'm the one who's in control, and he really wants control.
Why did he end up with the Court of Candles? What drew him there? Was it happenstance? Was it an opportunity? What do you think?
I think he was taken in there because they could see that he had this deep grief inside of him. But he has not been able to process that.
Okay.
So, like, I think the elders, the more experienced people in the court, they are like trying to move him in that direction and trying to be patient with him as he's like acting out as they see it. Yeah.
And lastly, how do you think you got out? Did you escape? Were you discarded?
Yeah, he was discarded.
Okay.
It was just, oh, we're not interested in this anymore. Tossed out and just drifted away.
Awesome. Let's take our short second break. Take 5. Come back. We'll do the rival and entanglements. Full credit to Dana for reminding me to hit record again. I do apologize earlier for leaving the recording on while we were doing silent character creation. I'm usually better about that, so I apologize for the 20-minute gap earlier. But we're going to look at rivals. Now we're on the rivals entanglement tab. Everybody has an NPC rival for some reason that has occurred, just to create some friction within this. I've got a list of names, what playbook they're from, what they're called, and the reason for their rivalry. So I am going to go backwards since I put Sabine on the spot first time. Let's Andish, who is your rival?
So I'm going to work backwards.
Sure.
For this, the reason they're my rival is that they hurt someone from my past life. I think unless I spot something here. Maybe. Ooh. I think the ghosts to have a hunger for you. That's really cool. Because we have hungry ghosts, right?
Yeah. Do you want that as your reason instead?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I want that. I think there's enough pain stuff anyway. I think it's more interesting to have something more practical, maybe.
Okay. And tell us the name, what playbook you think they're from, and what we're going to call their kind.
Yeah. We need the playbook. I think this is a fearing. Whose name is names are so good. Lean and Hungry Mike. Let's go.
Okay. A fearing named Lean and Hungry Mike. And what kind? Also, what pronouns we want to use for Mike?
Oh, Lean and Hungry Mike. He, him.
Okay.
And he's a night hewn.
Night hewn. Nice. Okay. So we've got this character out there. You know that there are some ghosts that are out there. That's the other thing that is established, that are hungering just for you. And you know that Mike talks to them. Excellent. Then in our reverse order, that brings us to Donna. Donna, who do you want for your rival?
I think I'm going to steal Anusha's trick and go in reverse.
Okay.
Paint myself with a corner with a name, maybe usefully, because I don't want to start with a name. I think the reason they're my rival is that they used me as a pawn against their true rival, right?
Okay.
And I like the name Restworm because maybe it has something to do with dragons.
Okay.
But I think maybe they. I'm not sure if they're pledged or beloved. But pledged, I think, because we don't have a pledged.
Okay.
And I cannot resist the name Hopscotch Takebacks.
Okay.
That was high on my list as well.
I mean, there are no Hopscotch Takebacks as far as I'm concerned, but you know, what do I know?
Pronouns?
Let's go with she, her.
Okay. Excellent. That brings us then to Path. Path, who's your rival?
No, I wanted to ask you, Sabine, about uses your dreams to traverse the freehold, because you're very dream involved. That's your theme. And I thought that'd be interesting because of like the amount of memories floating around in my mind. They might provide a lot of access to places in the freehold. But would this be someone who's like of the same kind as you? Are you interested in that, or should I look in a different direction?
No, that's fine. That is interesting, because that would create some tension and would prime us for some entanglements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe like a nightmare-oriented person rather than maybe a more benevolent dream person. So they use all my horrible memories to go places.
That's very cool. These are nightmares. So what do we want to what do they called? Are they the same thing as Mirage, or are they called something different?
It could be a dream wisp, just for like to tie it together nicely. If Sabine's interested in that, I was also looking at Night Hewn because they're like, but I think that's been used for a different playbook. So, are you okay with dream wisps, Sabine? If we use that, okay.
And the same playbook.
Yeah, if that's interesting, I guess it sort of is all one package. So I could, if it's cool to use Sabine, then I'm into it.
What are they called?
I closed it. Let's go with I like Spinning Ginny.
Spinning Ginny. Okay. Excellent. And then we're going to come to Mirage. Mirage, who is your rival?
Well, I was looking at Spinning Ginny as a name as well, but it's fine. I think in this case I will go with Songbird Rex.
Okay.
She is a beloved, a flower from the court of banners, and I rather unwittingly upstaged her during maybe if this is cool with you, Anders, maybe during one of our Blossoms parties. It wasn't my intention, but now she's got it out for me. She thinks maybe she doesn't want to destroy me, but she wants to draw me out, right? Because I'm rather introverted and usually not trying to make my way to the front stage, but when I did, I was pretty good at it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And now she wants me to take center stage far more often, and a lot more often than I'm really comfortable with at all.
Excellent.
And I have a picture for her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
you can. We've got an NPC tab, so feel free to drop that in there.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to take a look at entanglements, kind of to finish up. Typically, with an entanglement, you're going to have two of them. Generally, it's one general and one romantic, but it's your choice on that. These are relationships that are triangles where one relationship with one person complicates another. In at least one of those sort of 4 slots, you should include a PC. And feel free to come up with your own names for NPCs. And these don't necessarily have to be changed like yourself. They could be from the supernaturals. They could be humans. Whatever you want to do in terms of that. This allows us to kind of build up a little bit of a cast and some relationships right at the start. So Ondish, I've got some examples, rivals and entanglements, but you're certainly welcome to make up your own. What do you want to start with? We'll do one and then we'll go around and come back and do the second one.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I looked at them too closely. I think I'd like some kind of romantic entanglement, but Lord Bloom would be extremely conflicted about that.
Okay.
About having romantic feelings for someone, because he feels he betrayed his wife, and I think I don't know how you want to deal with like our families, because I think he was gone for a long time, whether it felt like that for him or not. So yeah,
it's up to you whether we want to have that wife and the family as an aspect on the table. We can certainly do that.
I don't think I want to decide that now.
Sure.
But I know that there's whether it's true or not, he sees no chance of getting back into that. Either she has passed away or she has moved on and remarried and that sort of thing. And it's like, it's definitely, there's nothing there.
Okay.
So, so I'm trying to figure out how to get a good relation, like a good triangular relationship when he. So maybe it's more one of the ones where he's the object of someone's affection, and he's.
So someone has declared their love for you, or that kind of thing, and there's another person who either resents you or resents them.
Yeah, that sounds good. And resents me sounds more fun.
Okay, so who is this person that has declared their love for you?
I think it's someone. I mean, oh, sorry, maybe I missed this. Should these involve, to what extent should these involve the other player characters? Because I feel like if it's only NPCs, it gets kind of.
No, in at least one of those 4 spots. Yeah, so you got 2. We want a PC, at least PC in one of those 2.
Cool. So I think maybe this one is just NPCs.
Okay.
And I think, sorry, this is taking so long.
No, that's what this is about.
Yeah. I think the person who is interested in me is someone else from the Court of Candles, and I think it's she. She has also come back, and her family is. She also has lost someone. She's whether she has true feelings or not, but she has like grabbed on to me, and I have like allowed that to happen, and not maybe intentionally led her on, but I don't have the same level of feelings for her that she has for me.
So pick a name.
Names. I look at the list of names.
Yeah, feel free to grab from there.
Yeah. I need to I need to think about that, because this feels important, and I need to find. Now I have a picture of what she looks like. I need to find a name that.
Okay. Who is this other person that resents you for that?
Yeah, that would be. I think it's someone who.
We could throw Lean and Hungry Mike in there if you want to, since you already got.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and that's another reason they're kind of your rival. They're tied into this romantic. We'll come back to ask you about your other entanglement and about the name for this first one. So let's come to Donna.
Yeah, I have my eye on someone claims to be my friend, but I see how they suck up to my rival. So I'm not sure. Does anyone think that they would be friends or be acquaintances of hopscotch takebacks?
You'd certainly frame him as someone who's in somebody's court or someone in a position of influence.
Can you remind us how Hopscotch used you against her rival?
I mean, I think when you have a murder dog on on the leash, you only use them for one thing, right?
Yes.
So maybe maybe it was fatal, or maybe it was just a severe seeing to.
Do you know what court Hopscotch is from? Is that?
No, but I would like, it would seem to make a lot of sense that she would be in the Court of Towers. You know,
Okay.
if I'm prone to being used by anyone, it's people who appear to be on my side, right? But it could be from the Court of Tides if you're thinking in that direction.
I mean, since I tend to grab onto people and make them owe me stuff, could be me.
Yeah, so you've kind of still interacted. We've got this pledge who has some influence, who clearly does manipulation. So you know, you are still friends with them despite their rivalry with Red. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right.
And you know, I take that personally, but that may just be the things you need to do to have the best people at your party, so or whatever.
Nice. Let's come to Path.
Okay. I spent all that time thinking about everyone else's stuff.
I know this is the problem with entanglements.
Yep. Okay. So I like my friend is an agent for somebody from an enemy faction, but I do not know it. Is an enemy faction like an outside force or a different court?
It could be either one. It could bring in some of these punk cultists or whatnot, or even street dragons.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to have a friend that's a punk cultist. I wonder if we can get more tangled with the other players' stuff here. So it's relatively unusual that the four of us are friends from other courts, and people tend to keep to their own situation.
That's going to be something we decide in play. Whether we want to handle it that way or there's more general overlap.
Okay. I just clicked on the NPC tab, and it'd be fun if Songbird Rex took a hard pivot to the cults. I also want to get involved with Lean and Hungry Mike a little bit because of those hungry ghosts. I think that stuff is really interesting.
So is Lean and Hungry Mike a friend of yours or somebody who's manipulating your friend?
I think Oh gosh, I'm getting tangled up here. Um, no, I'm just looking at the other entanglements. I also want an entanglement that makes it from within my court, like to reinforce the pressure that people are putting on me, or like the way that they see me as like a potential resource, or they resent me for taking away their power.
Yeah, you've got two of them, so you don't have to put the weight on everything.
Yes. Just kind of overwhelmed by all the people that are in here so far. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm just drawing a blank now entirely. Sabine, do you happen to have one ready? Can you bail me out here? Give me a moment.
Yeah, I actually have an idea for a romantic entanglement.
Okay.
And I have I feel pangs when my friend blank hangs out with blank. I wonder if that friend who hangs out with blank could be Lord Blossom, because it's kind of lovely. I don't know what the feeling is, but yeah, something. And he hangs out with my rival, of course. And I don't know exactly what the problem what I have here is, but there is a problem.
What do you think, Anders? Do you like that?
I didn't catch exactly what the thing was.
I feel pangs when my friend Lord Blossom hangs out with, what's her surname? Something Rex.
Songbird Rex.
Songbird Rex. Is that?
Sure.
And I think it's Lord Bloom, right?
Yeah,
Lord
Lord
Bloom,
Bloom.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I had the name
No,
wrong.
Does that work for you, Anders?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hang out with all rivals.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm setting myself up to be the foil here. Like, you're the good guys and I'm the shady person. But
no, I mean, you're just hanging out with her. You don't know that I feel these pangs, or maybe you do. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Anders, did you decide on a name for this?
Autumn's Veil. I put it in the thing.
Autumn's Veil. Excellent. Okay. Steal that. Put that in the NPC tab. Yeah. Matt, if I come back to you.
Still going around. Now I sort of want to have a romantic entanglement with scale, because I think that would be fun.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Dono?
Yeah.
Let's
whatever looks interesting to you on that entanglement list.
Yeah.
So do you think you pine after scale?
I think it's something like that. There was one that was just
the classic one would be you pine after scale, and we've got a third party that is also in love with scale, an NPC.
That sounds great. That sounds really good. As it's like I always want to use the already involved NPCs. I think that's part of what's like overwhelming me is like
feel free to add new NPCs. We will play around.
I mean, could it be hopscotch takebacks? Or no, that's your rival. Can we say I love scale, but their anger at hopscotch has poisoned their heart?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Got there.
All right. Andish, I'm going to return back to you.
Yeah. Trying to figure out what I want that would involve another player character. Hmm. I think this should involve a secret of some kind. Ooh. See, there's one here. I suspected blank maneuvered to get me into trouble with the authorities because of my connection to blank.
Okay.
I think that could be interesting if the second one was one of the other player characters, because we belong to different courts. There could be something there.
Okay.
Who could I get into trouble with for being associated with?
I guess that the Court of Tides would have beef with you if you were like protecting me in any way, or like just they seem to be I seem to be a little bit the black sheep, so that could affect your reputation.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. Because I have connections to the others, like indirect connections to the others already. So playing into you would be good.
So who is this person from Tides that has maneuvered to kind of try and create a wedge to create some problems?
Now I'm going to take a name from the list. Oh, this is Sarah No Tears. No one has used that one. Right?
Okay. Pronouns?
Seems like she, her would be
sure.
I noticed that all of us have picked like any or something they. So but maybe that could be like a general thing for changelings, like gender identity is fairly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put that in there, and I've got that in the NPC list. Donna?
Yeah, I have my eye on someone looks so much like my love from before my transformation, but they are committed to
probably a typo.
Yeah, so I don't think I have a link with Mirage. So, Sabine, do you think you want to be on one side of this equation?
Which equation was that again? Sorry.
That someone looks so much like my love from before my transformation, but they have committed to.
Okay. Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
Do you want to be the person who looks like my paramour, or the person that they have committed to?
I think I would be the person who looks like your paramour, maybe.
Okay.
And then that ties in because we know that there's a crush that Mirage has on Lord Bloom, right?
Yeah, it's true. I do.
And that hurts because I really don't like Lord Bloom anyway, because
he's so pretty.
Sabine?
Again? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What would you like for your other one?
I am still looking because I really, really like the name of that Question So Loud. I really like that name. I want to see that name somewhere.
I can go.
Okay, yeah, please. Go ahead.
Although I was thinking of maybe connecting to your character, so this might involve you a little bit, which is not useful.
Okay, I wanted to connect to you too, so.
Oh, okay.
Do you think that Question So Loud might be your mentor?
I would love to have a mentor. That's a nice connection.
Yeah, and then maybe I took part in a crime against Question So Loud, your mentor.
I see.
I did not maybe mean to take part in a crime precisely, but things are messy.
It's just so easy to get involved in a crime these days. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Right? What is a crime even?
What do you want for the pronouns for Question So Loud?
What do you think? Maybe he, they, just to have a bit of a contrast to path.
So Matt, what do you want as this last entanglement?
Wow. I do really want someone to be hanging out with in the cult. So I've discovered someone has been hanging out with blank and enemy supernatural. And I sort of just want to pick someone off one of your character sheets and then create an NPC as the cultist. Does anyone want to volunteer someone that's important to them to be involved in the punk cultists?
It makes sense. We've got Lean and Hungry Mike. We know that they're talking with ghosts already. It would make sense to throw them in there on that.
That sounds good. Mike is spending a lot of time out there in the streets with the dragons and the ghosts and the cultists. Great. And now this is someone who's high up in the cult itself.
Sure. What do you want to call them? What's their name?
Is there any chance that their name is Hopscotch Takebacks, or is Hopscotch?
We've already got that elsewhere? Taken.
No, I know, but I was thinking about the actual character themselves. But I don't quite recall what Hopscotch is up to now.
I think that they're a change, so I don't think that it work.
Right, this is going
to
be.
They're conniving, so maybe they have an angle there. It doesn't quite mesh up exactly, but it could work.
Okay. So this is most likely it's a supernatural, but it's not necessarily changed.
No, there's definitely not a changed. It's you know a lady or a dude or something else that is part of these punk cults.
Could they be a vampire?
Sure.
Okay, let's make them a vampire called Zetcher Mercy.
Vampire, punk, cultist.
And
okay.
They, them pronouns, I think.
Okay. And the entanglement is probably that there's some question about how you know all of this. Probably don't want to reveal that you know this because of some other reasons. So that gives us a super complicated field there. It is all kinds of things. If you want, you're welcome to add in character pictures between now and next time. There is one thing I want each of you to do between this session and next. Each of you has chosen a different court. So I would like each of you to, next session at the start, tell me who the dominus is of your court, who is in charge of it. We'll ask you for a name, and if you want to find a picture as well, but that will give us a thing to hook and hang some things on. Does that sound reasonable? So this was session 0, so we won't do a stars and wishes. I am very excited about these characters, though I will say that. Again, if between now and next time you're like, oh, I wish I had chosen this, or this seems like this might fit better, you certainly have the leisure to do that. So I am going to stop the recording. You have a question, Mirage?
I have a question. No, I have a command as a player. You can do that after recording.
Okay, I will stop the recording.